Got good news.
Yeah.
Oh, so we can vote on that next week. Oh, yeah, get the ship.
We have to sell the property. So that's all it is. Because it's developed, right, it's say,
Yeah, right. The whole thing has to go in there, even the school board section and like all that. Oh, good.
So. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. Well, that was took a nightmare because of the curb cut.
Just a whole bunch of, whole nightmare. So, but because this is simple and they have to approve some actually by days, we're putting paperwork together to submit the application.
Okay.
Then they would just do the so we're working on all the paperwork.
All right. Tonight, due to thing that's going around. Everybody's got that call. Colleen and Frank, ready to go?
Yep. Yeah, we can hear you. Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm not in person, but I am trying to keep my germs to myself.
You sound terrible if it helps.
Yep.
All right, super. So the audience can hear. Oh, sure. Oh, good.
Jason.
So would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
So just to move forward with the meeting, Hi, everybody. Are you able to see our video or are we only able to not see the borough?
No, we could see you fine, Colleen and Frank. For those on Zoom, our camera is not responsive, so they can hear us, they just can't see the room.
Okay, okay, fantastic. Okay. Not fantastic, but fantastic that we're all together at least.
I skipped A, went to B, Colleen.
Okay, just give me 1 second. I'm just making sure I have the most updated agenda packet. Deanna, is it still the packet that we had from earlier this week, from the weekend? Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, did you already call roll? I'm sorry.
No, I only did the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay,
I'll do roll call now.
okay.
Commissioner Troy,
You gotta read it.
Well, we have to read the statement.
Sunshine Statement.
Yep, in
Oh.
accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting has been sent to the retrospect, posted on the Borough website, Borough social media, and posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, and is being held both in person and via Zoom.
Thank you. Roll call, Dan?
as with the Pledge of Allegiance, roll call, Commissioner Troy,
Present.
Commissioner Seidel,
Present.
Commissioner Bianco Bezich.
Present, thank you. Next up, I know that we have the swearing in of our newest police officer, Nicholas Fazis, and we also have the authorization to appoint our auxiliary police officers. Deanna, if you wouldn't mind administering the oath of office to our newest officer, and Chief Cutler, if you could extend a hearty welcome to Nicholas, and I'm sorry I'm not there to meet you in person tonight.
Absolutely. Nicholas, come on up. Just to give you a little preview of Nick. Nick is our newest officer. He comes from the borough of Collingswood. And before that, he was with the Department of Corrections. It was a very long and drawn out hiring process, and Nick rose to the top. We can't be more happy that he's gonna spend out hopefully the rest of his career with us. He's just been, so far the 2 weeks he's been here, he's done an amazing job, and we couldn't be happier. Now Nick is an actual hire. I have to thank the sitting commissioners. Nick is actually adding to our police department. Okay, nobody retired through last April, through all the meetings that we sat through and all the residents' concerns. The commissioners saw to see fit to add one more police officer this year and hopefully a couple more next year. So we're hoping, we're glad he's aboard, and Commissioner Seidel, if you would do the honors.
Sure. Raise your hand. I state your name.
I, Nicholas Bezos,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States and this state
in the United States and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
Furthermore, I do solemnly swear
Furthermore, I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
all the duties of the office of police officer
all the duties of the office of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome, officer.
Welcome, Nick. Thank you, Dave, for swearing him in.
Put it on the front one. So Nick's family is here for this occasion. Proud dad.
Would you like to?
They didn't get the Zoom screen.
Good. Very much. Thanks.
Okay.
Colleen,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I can't see anything going on there. So I just want to make sure that everyone had a chance to take the photograph. And thank you again to Dave for swearing in. Welcome, Nick. We're so excited to have you. And Deanna, did you want to move to the resolution appointing the auxiliary officers?
yes, please.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to approve for resolution 2025-127-001 authorization to appoint auxiliary police officers.
Second.
Voting on that motion. Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor?
Commissioner Bianco Bezich.
In favor. Thank you. And thank you to all of our auxiliary volunteers for another year of service. Very grateful to have you with us and supporting our police and our residents and business owners.
If everybody could, if the auxiliary police could come up for the swearing in.
Say a little bit about something of our police auxiliary program. We're one of the few police departments in the state that actually have an auxiliary police department. And I think you've been around for over 50 years. 78, there you go. So the men and women of the auxiliary police department are invaluable to us. They come in, they're all volunteer work. They train once a month. They meet once a month. And whenever we have any emergencies or storms or downtown parades, you always see them volunteering, directing traffic and helping us out. We couldn't do the job that we do on a daily basis without the men and women of the auxiliary. So I would really like to thank all of them for their service. I know everybody's been around a long time, not 78 years, but they do a great job for us, and welcome aboard again. I think this is our newest member. He was sworn in last month. A month or two ago, but everybody else has been around for a couple of years now, and we're very grateful to have them. So I think Mr. Seidel, if you want to swear them in.
Sure. No, stay where you're at. Oh. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
And to the governments established.
and the government established
In the United States and in this state.
in the United States and in this state,
Under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
Furthermore, I do solemnly swear.
Furthermore, I do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform.
I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform
All the duties of the office of auxiliary police officer.
all the duties of the office of the auxiliary police
According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are great. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you.
And I can't see what has taken place, but congratulations to all of our auxiliary officers. Thank you very much for your volunteerism. We couldn't do it without you, and welcome aboard to Nick to the police force.
Thanks, Commissioner. Okay, moving on. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Michael, for trying to give us a glimpse of the room. I appreciate that video feed right there from Michael Marshanti, who's sitting at the department head chair. Next, we have 3 proclamations, the first of which is in honor of Board of Education Appreciation. Then we have Muslim Heritage Month, and we also have Black History Month. So the first 2, Board of Education Appreciation Month and Muslim Heritage Month, we are celebrating in January. And then Black History Month, which we are celebrating in February, we have on the agenda because we chose to do it in advance, and it was at the request of the members of our Human Relations Commission. I believe we do have at least 1 or 2 members in attendance. I believe for the Board of Ed, we should have board members as well as for Muslim Heritage Month. We should have also BOE member Yusuf Sadiq, and I believe Dr. Chandler may also be in the audience. And then I believe from the Preserving Black Haddonfield History Project, we also have Stacy Brown Downham, and I'm not sure if there's anyone else. Diana, are you there from Haddonfield Human Relations Commission?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay. Dave, since you are a former Board of Ed member and Vice President, would you like to read a portion of the proclamation celebrating Board of Education Appreciation Month?
Sure, thank you.
Of course.
This proclamation for January reads partially as follows. I won't bore you with all the details. Whereas New Jersey's public schools served more than 1.4 million children from pre-kindergarten through grade 12. And whereas New Jersey's 5,000 local boards of education members devote countless hours without compensation, provide oversight of school district operations, including finance, policy, curriculum, and staffing. And whereas the efforts of the Haddonfield Board of Education have long contributed to New Jersey's ranking among the national leaders in benchmarks of academic quality, such as high school graduation rates, teacher to student ratios, and college preparation through advanced placement, offering and SATs assessment. And I should have put my reader. So be it resolved that the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners of the Borough of Haddonfield encourage qualified New Jersey citizens to consider service on the Haddonfield Board of Education. And be it further resolved that this Board of Commissioners, the Borough of Haddonfield and the New Jersey State Board of Education proclaim January 2025 as School Board Recognition Month. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you to everyone there from our Haddonfield BOE.
Take a photo. Would you like to come up and have a photo? You only get 1 signature so far because I'm the only person that rides the L and the Paco, so I'm immune to germs. Seen them all. So congratulations. This is your proclamation. Thank you.
Give it back.
The other 2 have to sign it.
Thank you. The next proclamation we have also for the month of January is actually really special for the Borough of Haddonfield. This is the first time that we are doing a Muslim American or Muslim Heritage Month in the borough. And this was after thoughtful discussion and conversations with our Human Relations Commission. This is something that we talk about often, is making sure that we represent members of the community and that all members of the community feel welcome and seen and heard and celebrated. And particularly at this time in our history when so much is going on and there is a lot of division everywhere among many of us, it feels especially important and especially meaningful to come together to honor the heritage of our neighbors and community members who are of Muslim culture, faith, and beliefs. And so for that reason, the Human Relations Commission, of which I am the liaison commissioner, had requested that we issue a proclamation for 2025. And I will read a portion of that as well. And the proclamation reads in part, whereas the USA is a country founded on the principles of diversity, freedom, and inclusion, where individuals from all walks of life, religions, and backgrounds shall be valued and respected, and the contributions of Muslim Americans have greatly enriched the social, cultural, and economic fabric of our nation with a rich history that spans centuries and includes achievements in the fields of science, education, politics, arts, civil rights, and beyond. Whereas Muslim Americans, like all Americans, play an integral role in the development and success of our communities, helping to foster a more inclusive, peaceful, and prosperous society. And whereas we acknowledge the significance of Muslim American Heritage Month as a time to celebrate culture, traditions, and contribution of Muslim Americans to Haddonfield, the state of New Jersey, and our country, while also promoting education and dialogue about Islam and Muslim communities. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners, Borough of Haddonfield, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, hereby proclaims the month of January 2025 to be Muslim Heritage Month. And we encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate the contributions of those members of our community. So with that, if there is anyone here, again, apologies for not being there in person. This is a really special occasion, very meaningful to me and many of our neighbors. So please feel free to stand and be recognized and receive the proclamation from Commissioner Seidel.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our final proclamation for the evening is in advance of February. And this proclamation is our Black History Month proclamation, which we are continuing again this year, as we have in past years. And I'll read this proclamation in part as well. And again, apologies for my voice. Whereas each February, Haddonfield, along with communities throughout the country, are in the midst of month-long observance of Black History Month. And whereas Americans are aware of since this country's election of the first African-American president, Barack Obama, as well as Jackie Robinson's contributions to sports and General Colin Powell's military leadership, Desert Storm, and others, such as Mary McLeod Bethune's contributions to education, or astronomer Benjamin Banneker. Whereas ignorance of such facts is what led Carter G. Woodson, son of former slaves, to create the first Negro History Week in February of 1926, a culmination of the separate efforts of Mary Church Terrell of the National Council of Colored Women and the African American Collegiate Fraternity of Omega Phi Psi, which became Black History Month in 1976. And whereas February was selected because of Frederick Douglass, a staunch advocate for civil and human rights, and Abraham Lincoln, defender of equality among mankind, born in that month. Whereas Haddonfield takes pride in its role as a community participating in the route of the Underground Railroad during the Civil War years, excuse me, and abolition to help save African slaves and slaves from the lives of treatment and merchandise rather than as human beings. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Commissioners of the Borough of Haddonfield, along with the Haddonfield Human Relations Commission, proclaim the month of February as Black History Month 2025. I would invite anyone who is here representing any of our American churches, any of our Preserving Black Haddonfield History Project, or any residents who feel that they'd like to identify and stand up to receive the proclamation or celebrate it, please do so with Commissioner Seidel. And again, I want to recognize Diana Portez, a member of our Human Relations Commission, also a small business owner here in Haddonfield. Diana, if you're there, thank you so much for making this a priority and helping to amplify the work that so many are doing in town. Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our monthly departmental reports. And I know that Joanna is also not well enough to be in person with public affairs. So Joanna, if you want to just let us know if you're going to be giving your report this week or next, or just want to pull it together for next week or next month rather. In the interim, I'll start with Chief Cutler since I know you're there because I've heard you speak already.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So in the month of December, the police department answered or initiated 170 calls for service. It's a little low, so that's actually good. We normally average at about 50 to 1,600. We stopped 145 motor vehicles. Out of that, we issued 33% of those stops got tickets. The other 67% got warnings. Total number of summonses issued for the month of December was 481. It's a little bit down just because in December there's free parking and a lot of our tickets come from the parking meters. We had one burglary in the month of December, and that was a commercial burglary to a real estate office. I'm happy to report that due to our detective bureau following up that we actually arrested the individual probably about 2 weeks ago. He was actually suspect in another burglary as well. So he's safely behind bars, but other than that, nothing major to report except our monthly reminder because we did have a couple of break-ins this past week, but always lock your doors, take the keys out of your cars, and all your valuables. It's very, very important to lock your cars at night. It's very, very rare that the individuals committing these crimes break windows to get into your car. That's just because of the sound late at night. They don't want to cause, themselves to be noticed. So they'll just go around and check doors. And if you leave it unlocked, it's kind of an easy target. So we would just remind everybody again, please lock your car door, take your valuables, and especially your keys. Other than that, I don't have anything, Madam Mayor. You're muted, Matt. You're muted.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Chief. And thank you for that reminder. Important to work together as a community to keep safe. And that means just, we know people, it's so easy. Having had a toddler not many years ago, running in and out of the house with my hands full of everything from a baby carrier to the bags, it can be really easy to forget that you left your doors unlocked or that you left your keys inside. So the goal here is just to continue reminding people, the more that we all remind each other to lock up and to take our keys and our fobs with us and bring them inside, the safer we all are. And it sends a message that we're mindful of locking the doors and keeping our possessions and our cars safe. Chief Gorman, I'm sorry if Chief, I can't see you if you're there. Okay. Hi, Chief. If you wouldn't mind doing fire and EMS, please, and welcome.
Certainly. Good evening. Like police, fire and EMS had a quieter month in December, a great month to have quieter. We had 51 in-town calls, 6 mutual aid calls. We had a unique situation where we had 4 dwelling fires and 1 building fire all in one day. Not in our local, but all mutual aid. Unfortunately, my beloved Dunkin' Donuts in Lawnside was one of the victims. And being a former cop, you can see how I truly felt the impact of that one. No offense. The EMS, we had 98 runs in town. We had 15 out of town. Our mutual aid is certainly decreasing because these other towns are taking care of their problems. We're proud to say we completed the Fire Officer 3 course for our line officers. We're waiting to hear back from Kean University on whether you pass. We all feel pretty confident. It was the only Fire Officer 3 course being offered and taken within a whole state. So a real feather in the cap for the borough of Haddonfield. This month, you won't be seeing us out much where it's 9 degrees. So much like you, we like to stay inside. So that's what we're doing. We're doing our CPR tonight and throughout the week, our mandatory training throughout the month. It is cold out there, but some people ask, well, will the water freeze on the trucks? The answer is we have recirculating pumps for when it gets below freezing like this. to keep it going. The hydrants are a separate story, but at least the pumps on the truck, when it gets that cold, will still work. We have 8 members being brought up tonight. We have 2 members graduating fire school, firefighter 1 and 2, a combined course in Gloucester County Fire Academy on February 10th. Unfortunately, I can't attend because I'll be here giving the year-end report for the borough meeting. And we have 4 new members starting fire school. Actually, they have started last week. Where things are going pretty well. Things are increasing with membership, which is always a good thing because you'll see statistically this year, the year end will be probably our busiest year that we had on record, with the exception of the previous year where we had 110 calls on one day. That was kind of an anomaly, but we had a very busy year. So good to have this many more people, and certainly good to have the support of the borough. So anything, questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Nan.
Thanks, Chief. I will add, if you live near a fire hydrant, my PSA is please make sure if we have heavy snowfall, which I hope we don't have much, if any, left this year. But if you have snowfall and your home has a fire hydrant in front or nearby, please make sure you keep it clear for our fire trucks. That's really important for our firefighters to keep them safe in the event of an emergency. They need access to those hydrants. So that's all I have. Thank you, both chiefs, very, very much. And thank you to all the members and all of our volunteers, as well as all of our staff who are keeping us all healthy and safe. And with that, Joanna and/or Michael for Public Affairs and the partnership.
Hi, yes, ma'am. I could speak briefly about December in public affairs. We had a busy press month with downtown Haddonfield candlelight shopping, good press coverage on that, and Shop Small weekend as well. And then also we helped publicize Santa, who came to the borough right around Christmas time and was escorted by HPD and Haddon Fire. So and also the Haddonfield Police Department helped publicize their toy drive, which was very accessible for the Marine, the tots for the Marine Corps. I apologize. So yes, we were very holiday focused on our press releases for December.
Thank you, Joanna. Great job. I'm sorry you're not well either. Get better soon.
I have a report here. It's a year-end report. Since I missed the last meeting, I'll be very quick with it. In 2024, 21 retail businesses, that's eateries, retail stores, and professional services, opened in Haddonfield. 4 of those were relocations from other locations in Haddonfield. 3 of them opened an additional location in the borough while maintaining stores elsewhere. PFH successfully concluded 3 advertising campaigns on Petco. Hundreds of QR codes were scanned. Dozens of riders shared photos of the ads. Several businesses reporting new customers referring to those advertisements. PFH was awarded Main Street designation, if you haven't heard that one already, from the Department of Community Affairs. We are automatically enrolled into Main Street America. We will be attending the Main Street the Main Street America Conference in Philadelphia this April. In 24, we awarded $8,600 in retention.
Michael, I'm sorry. Michael, I'm just going to cut you off. John Simonson, if you could mute yourself, we'd appreciate it. You're talking over our department head, Michael Marchanti. Thank you so much. Continue, Michael. Sorry.
$8,600 in retention and outdoor planters grants. This is unfortunately a little bit lower than years past, but we're still happy to distribute the funds. PFH increased the lighting on the Library Point tree this year with LED lights. We believe they to be indiscernible from regular warm lights. That same committee, Visual Enhancements, placed permanent lighting in Hattie Lane just in time for the Hattie birthday event. The partnership also injected $25,250 into the Community e-gift card program with our annual holiday BOGO. This was the result of 308 BOGO purchasers. We coordinated with over a dozen nonprofits in Haddonfield with event participation and promotion. And that's it for our highlights from 24. Our December recap included 3 nights of candlelight shopping with good reports coming from the Friday, December 13th. That being the highlight of the campaign. We filmed new aspects of that 13th night for next year's candlelight shopping commercial. The last night of candlelight shopping, which is typically known as the best night of candlelight shopping, was unfortunately very wet, cold, and snowy. It was very beautiful, but not very well attended. However, stores were filled with families who came out specifically to see Mrs. Claus, so we're happy to see success in that campaign. And then PFH was part of the communication campaign, hand-delivered letters about information regarding the Haddon Avenue construction. We are building a promotional campaign to highlight businesses along Haddon Avenue to promote them during this period of time.
You're muted, Kelly.
Thanks. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Michael, thank you. It was a very busy year indeed. So thanks for all your hard work, and thanks to all of our Partnership for Haddonfield volunteers who make so much of this possible. And with that, Commissioner Seidel, I will turn it over to you for Revenue and Finance.
Sure. Before that, I will congratulate the Partnership for Haddonfield and the Super Bowl, and also congratulate the Bistro for their chicken dumpling soup because it stuck to my ribs the rest of the day. It was so awesome. Sharon, is there any particular money highlight you'd like to highlight out of the finance side of the house?
No, sir, just that we are completing all of the annual financial statements and should have them done in the next week. Ready to start the new year.
Great. Hope you and Alex, it's not too busy for you guys. I do want to highlight something out of the Borough Clerk's report before I turn it over to you, Deanna. I want to cover OPRA requests as a portion of the types of issues that the clerk's office has to deal with. 17% of our OPRA requests take more than 5 hours to compile. So that's almost a work day for a 2-person shop to compile one OPRA request. The 2 to 4 hour range is another 22% of those requests. But the lion's share are those that are 0 to 2 hours. And some of those things we're trying to tackle to see and reevaluate how worthy they need to be opened, versus, benign and easy enough to release, because it does take up a considerable amount of time out of the office, time that could be better spent doing more important governmental activities like our minutes, creating agendas that are more complete. And with that, I'm going to turn it to Deanna to talk a little bit about minutes and agendas.
I will actually specifically be talking about minutes, realizing that we are behind on work session minutes specifically. We are now up to September on the website for commissioner meeting. So I do have October, November, and December to complete. A game plan or a work plan has been established where those should be completed. The missing minutes, or I shouldn't say missing, but the uncompleted minutes are expected to be completed by the February 10th agenda and would be listed on that agenda for approval by the commission.
And one of the exciting things that I'm looking forward to from the administrative side is the improvements to our audiovisual systems. As you can tell tonight with the camera being out, those upgrades will allow for a more complete capture of the audio portion of the meeting, which then we can rely on Zoom's feature of automated AI-driven minute taking to at least get a basis and start so that the minutes can be completed in a more timely fashion going forward, actually having the human oversight to add in the missing detail, to get Judge Rosen's name right. It's never right in the AI just doesn't get it right. Nor yours, David. I'm really looking forward to the speeding up process using technology once our AV system's up to snuff for the job.
Thanks, Dave. And I think it helps having your tech background, helping to improve those areas, because that's certainly not my not my cup of tea.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks. Frank, you're up. If Dave has nothing left, Commissioner Troy, if you want to take your departments.
Sure. I know Bill is also out sick, and this is kind of running rampant. Is Doug here tonight? Maybe we'll start with engineering first if he is there.
Doug, if you could take the mic. Thank you.
Good evening. We are coordinating on a few grant opportunities for various infrastructure projects in the borough. So they're not due for a couple months, so we'll continue to work with Frank and Sharon's office to potentially put in applications for those projects. We completed the borough-wide inlet basin inspection as well as the borough-wide outfall inspection. That's part of MS4 requirements. So we'll be working on filing and finalizing those reports for the record, as well as we've done an evaluation of the pavement management of all the roads in the borough. So we're preparing an overall report with estimated costs for various segments of the roads. Additionally, the Haddonfield Road reconstruction, so it's different than the current utility work that's going on now, Haddap. We are updating the plans based upon some revisions requested from the county as well as the borough. So we are working on that to hopefully wrap the design up in the next couple months. And then the various road projects have all been completed, being the various 2024 road program, West Summit Avenue, as well as Hickory Lane. And we're coordinating with the contractor to finalize all the project closeout documents for those grants and those projects. That concludes my report, unless there's any questions for me.
No, thanks, Doug. Just a comment. So in years past, every 4 years, we would do an evaluation of the roads in Haddonfield, and we, or not we, but Remington and Vernick would basically give them a rating between 0 and 100. 100 being essentially a brand new road, and then 0 being a road that is really very much so in need of redevelopment. We got caught up for the most part on a lot of the roads over the last few years, the ones that are like in the 30s and 40s, which are actually pretty bad. We don't really have any that are below that, but those are the ones that were kind of in the worst shape. But this year we were using a different technology called Violytics, where it's essentially you're just using a camera mounted to the front of a vehicle or vehicles, and as the borough vehicles, and you can do this on an ongoing basis as they're collecting trash or recycling or just kind of driving the streets, it's capturing information on those roads and updating it and assigning it a value. This is our first year of doing this, but this will probably be our path going forward. The company's called Violytics. So it should be able to give us more real-time up to real-time data on how the roads are performing, and even allow us to even budget a little better if ones are decaying faster than we thought. So thank you, Doug, for bringing that to us. Bill Ober is also out sick. This is really kind of going around everywhere. We have 2 people out of my office, or 2 people that were out of my office last week, and then I think I got out on the tail end of them coming back. But just the biggest updates right now at Public Works is we have an issue with the chipper truck. We made an announcement about that last week. So we are using the vegetative waste truck to pick up all the branches and Christmas trees and stuff like that we have out there, but it's not as efficient because we'd have to just stack them up and then take them off site, and we'll subsequently chip them down when we have the chipper working again. So if your trees or branches have not been picked up yet, just leave them out. We will get to them. If you do have any concerns about it, you can contact Public Works just to make sure, but we know about it. It's just very cold. When it's very cold out, rotating and operating equipment really just doesn't like that. I think that's what we're exposed to right now. And just as a reminder, the vegetative waste will be picked up the first full week of next month in February, and then the chipper will be back again the 3rd week of the month. Hopefully it'll be repaired by then, and then shortly after that we'll then kind of transition to spring cleaning. But that is everything I have for both departments. Thank everyone, and Madam Mayor, it is back to you.
Thank you,
I'm
Commissioner.
gonna take 1 second. I forgot one thing, Colleen.
Yep.
Oh,
That was, we have a new employee in the borough. His name is Harold Bentley. He's a part-time director of the Recreation Utility.
Oh.
And in concert with the Recreation Council, which we are recruiting for members who want to sit on the board of the Recreation Council. We'll be looking at better utility scheduling, rotating maintenance, and opportunities with the recreation portion of the borough's activities. Meaning taking care of the fields, making sure they're ready for play, collecting fees for those that want to use the fields and facilities, as well as looking to work with other departments like Michael's on tournaments and those types of things that would bring people and exposure to our borough.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome. Yeah. Thank you both, Frank and Dave. Okay, with that, we will conclude our monthly departmental reports, and we will, may I have a motion to open to the public on items listed on the agenda, please, Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to open public comment for items listed on the agenda.
Second.
Voting on that motion, Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor?
Commissioner Bianco Bezich.
In favor, thank you. Okay, members of the public, just by way of reminder, we'll open to the room first. So I'll rely on Commissioner Seidel and Ms. Bennett. If you could just keep track and state your name and address for the record for the minutes. And each person will be given 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes if you so choose to use them. After opening to the room, we will then go to those on Zoom.
Chris Maines, 707. As the borough prepares to address its DCA fourth round obligations, I just wanted to rehash some of the current events in recent history from the third round in the hopes that remembering the past will help us move forward, help us as we move forward. For its 2019 agreement with Bear Share, Haddonfield is required to build just 10 affordable units at Bancroft, and no other development is required on the site. Yet the borough has chosen to expose the entire community to builder's remedy by attempting to use those 10 units as a Trojan horse to bring in additional luxury units, which the overwhelming majority of taxpayers don't want. We did nothing else but build those 10 units and turn the remaining 9 or so acres into passive open space and continue to pay down the acquisition cost of the parcel itself. It would cost the average household around $200 per year. Frank, you did a focus group a couple months ago and you saw the results. People are more than willing to pay that $200 or more, and they want open space, and the results weren't even close to supporting any other outcome. Now, I've heard 2 main reasons why this can't or shouldn't be done, both based on admirable stances, but stances which shouldn't overshadow the downside risk they create, namely builder's remedy. One reason is that we don't have the money. But we didn't hear we don't have the money when the borough paid O'Neill $3.5 million to leave, but when the borough bought 6 scattered properties, all needing to be rehabbed to create 8 affordable units, or when they spent $1.8 million on Boxwood. I appreciate fiscal conservatism, but now we have builder's remedy knocking on the door, and it's time to set the wheels in motion to just build 10. Another reason I've heard is, Dave, your sentiment that affordable units shouldn't be standalone because of the potential stigma. And I believe your sentiment is genuine, it's not unreasonable, and you've been open and consistent about it since before the election. But if we build 10 affordable units, new construction at below market rates, next to a park, 3 blocks from an amazing downtown and top school system, we're gonna have hundreds of applicants who could care less about any possible stigma and just want that deal. We have Tarditi Commons, a 100% affordable housing development in town. From their website, quote, Birchwood at Tarditi Commons is an affordable 62+ rental community located in the quaint and desirable borough of Haddonfield, within walking distance to downtown Haddonfield shopping, dining, and entertainment, as well as convenient to major highways and public transit. In bold letters, it says, note, this is an affordable, 62 plus affordable community working off a wait list. Working off a wait list. The fear of stigma will not be consequential enough to deter 10 lucky residents from freely choosing to live in those 10 affordable units at Bancroft. So let's not let it be the reason we don't get this done and wind up with builder's remedy. Lastly, let's talk about the May 13th, 2024 vote so we don't repeat something like that in the fourth round, when the mayor and Kevin Roach voted to designate Woodmont as the developer. Prior to that vote, concerns were raised about Roach's residency status. Those concerns were evaded, dismissed, and ignored, and the commissioners went into closed session where the mayor and Roach voted yes for Woodmont. We knew then that Roach had sold his house a month prior to that vote and moved to DC, which is in the judicial record now, along with the fact that he had not spent one night in Haddonfield, not one night from the day he moved in April until the day he resigned at the end of May. His lease was never signed by the landlord and no rent check was ever cashed. Back to the May 13th vote. A concerned resident prior to that vote actually asked the question, quote, where do you lay your head at night? Legally, that's the crux of whether he was eligible or not. And an ordinary citizen who is not an attorney got right to the legal crux of the eligibility issue before the vote. Mayor, you're an attorney, and you hold your office under the same eligibility rules as Roche. As an attorney, you must know how to research and interpret the law. You should have tabled that vote and resolved the issue. And if you claim that you didn't know, then you were negligent in your duties to find out. If you claim you're just one of 3 commissioners and being mayor is just a title, well, that doesn't seem to be the case when something good happens in town. Like the mayor's wellness day, or the mayor's this, the mayor's that, the mayor's breakfast. Where does the buck stop? You led that proceeding because after spending $3.5 million to get rid of O'Neill, you apparently wanted Woodmont in there badly enough to steamroll that vote through. Consequences be damned. We need to know why, and you need to resign for putting Haddonfield into this position. The borough is 100% in control of the situation and can remove the risk of builder's remedy if you just build 10.
Anyone else in the room?
I'm David Huniger, 419. I want to say I appreciate Commissioner Seidel's initiative as well as the clerk's initiative to get this minute problem rectified. It's been going on for a long time. I understand there's 3 classes of minutes. There are borough meetings, working session meetings, but closed session meetings as well.
Can't hear.
I'm sorry. I understand there are 3 classes of meetings that are public record. Borough meetings, working session meetings, as well as closed session meetings. And while the first 2 were referenced earlier in the discussion as to being worked on and the backlog captured, I wanted to ask the question, if I operate the last 18 months of closed session meetings, how long would that take in order to be cleared and made available?
Al, you have an opinion?
It's up to the clerk. Yeah, that would take some time to review because we would have to review each and every set of minutes that are complete and have been approved. And make sure that any redactions for each were properly done before we could release those.
I'm aware of that. That is.
I can't estimate the time that would take. That would be.
Well, the time by law is, I believe, a week with a week extension for an Oprah request. I don't know of any exceptions to that the law offers. But what I will signal is that statement seems to indicate that none of these minutes have been captured or prepared in in closed session minutes up until this point in time.
Mhm.
So if they have been, then that would be good in order to not just work on the backlog of working session meetings and commissioners meetings, because apparently we have a multi-year gap in any kind of session meetings that might be available.
When I do a set of work session minutes, or if I do a action meeting set of minutes that have a closed session aspect to it, those are done at that time.
I'm with you. So then, by what you're saying is that they are done? Are you saying that closed session meetings are tabulated, but only have to be cleared by the attorney?
Not that they have to be cleared by the attorney. If you look at previous agendas, you'll see that there's one of the lines for minutes says work session and closed.
Okay, so those meetings then are available in some, or in some fashion ready to be made available?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so that would answer that. And I would ask that going forward, that all three classes of minutes be kept current, to be
Yes, they
requested.
will. Yes.
So they don't put an inordinate amount of weight on the capabilities of the borough.
One of the things I will point out about closed session minutes is, there's only certain reasons we can go into closed session. One of those big ones is contract negotiations. If you think of something like Woodmont, or when we negotiate with the police or public works with the trash, with the workers, the minutes would have to be heavily redacted for anyone while the matter is still at hand. And as anybody in this room will know, some of these things have been dragging on a very long time. So since the matter's not closed, that's where the redaction piece comes in, because we wouldn't want to spoil our position on some of these negotiations or contract discussions with the third parties, that we are talking with. So that's where the redaction would come in. Like, they could just as easily come in and Oprah those meeting minutes. However, they would be nearly blank.
I understand. So would it be the borough's preference that any Oprah request regarding content within minutes be subject related versus en masse related about the minutes at large?
Yeah, right. I they're not in that form. I don't even know.
Okay.
It's something to tackle.
But if I don't care about contractual things of that nature,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to lessen the burden to your point.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's all. Other hands?
And David, in addition to Dave Seidel, that is, there are several issues that are handled in closed session, including personnel, and people who are applying to the boards and commissions and committees that we have. So it's reviewing privately information like that really is not, the forum is not, or it's not geared toward a public forum. So, I mean, a lot of the information you have in there is just that it's in closed session for a reason, because it's, either privileged information or private information, similar to like, a conversation with an HR representative in a company.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. And hearing on the street.
Chief Cutler.
Chief Cutler. Just a couple things.
Lieutenant Holloway filled in for you last week.
And I just love him. He's got the biggest heart, and he really is Santa Claus 365 days a year. Lieutenant Lemerick, he's downtown. I went into CVS and Ruben, the manager, saw me. And I said, "Oh, what's up?" They have an officer coming in here, and he actually talks to me. So I said, "Well, how about the parking issue?" "Oh, it's so much better." I said, "Oh, I'm so glad to hear that." And he says, and I said, "The munchkins, well, thieves." He says, "Oh, he's really helped with that." They come in after school and steal. You're in there, they just steal. I just can't believe we have that. And of course, we don't have any issues with bicycles downtown because they're not allowed. So that was a major issue. So, I just wanted to let you know that he kept on saying, Annie comes in and he talks to me and asks me how things are and what can you do? Well, I just thought that is our happy. That's how we used to be. So that's important. Lieutenant, I'll make you Lieutenant Seidel. Commissioner Seidel. I know you're new with the Maple Cave House. Now, that has always been a cooling center under someone else. It wasn't advertised as a cooling center. And, you know, we had 2 months straight in the summer of, almost triple digits. And people's air conditioners break down. They don't have a place to go. And, you don't have to be a senior citizen. You can be event engaged. But now we're having warming centers. You may have heard it was really big in Philadelphia and yada yada. I don't know. You know, someone's heater, they do go out and you don't have any heat. So they were all to be advertised. You know, all the papers all, and it just, nothing is done anymore. I just mentioned that.
Sure.
We still have warming centers.
Well, I've never heard of it.
All you have to do is call us.
No. It has to be advertised because if it breaks, if your heater breaks, I wouldn't know. And that did happen to me. I didn't know that there's a place I can go. Never heard of that. Anyway. And I want to say, and this affordable housing issue, I know it's always, or the current trend is that have them not separated, but have them mixed in with other residential apartments or what have you. I really don't understand that. I think that prevents us from achieving our affordable housing goal. For example, Lincoln Commons, Turbic Commons, or whatever it's called right now. That's all affordable residents living in there. No one thinks twice. They don't go around feeling bad because they're living in an affordable housing. No one looks down at them because that's what they're doing. They just mingle, assimilate in town, go to the Maple Cave, go shopping downtown, eat downtown. What difference does it make? They're just happy to be living in a pretty safe community. And I think that should be, I don't know if that's a definite mandate that they have to be non-separated, but I think would help us reach the quota. We have such a list. I don't know anyone that would object. Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'll live there. I'll live there. They don't care. I've always thought Mount Well would be a good place to eventually have good location to actually have some affordable housing. This idea that they have to be close to town. I've known the poorest of poor people, and they have cars, and they get around fine. So if you did have it at Mount Well or a place a little farther out, not right downtown, they can manage fine. There's no reason why it has to be downtown. Our downtown is so overly crowded. How much time?
10 seconds.
10 seconds?
Oh, I'll be back. Who said that? Who said that? Thank you.
You're welcome. There is a second comment period on any agenda topic at the end of the meeting. On a non-agenda, well, anything you want, really, at the end of the meeting. Anyone else in the room who would like to make comment? The streets, that's at the end. It's not on the agenda, though. Seeing no more in the room, we'll move to Zoom. If anyone would like to make a comment, either raise your hand or just unmute.
I don't see anybody.
All right. Colleen, I think that's all we got.
Okay, thanks,
Oh.
Commissioner.
No, it's one turn per person.
Okay. With that, we will, I'll ask for a motion to close to the public on agenda items, please.
Motion to close, the public comment period.
Second.
Voting on that motion, Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor.
Commissioner Bianco Bezic.
In favor. Okay, next we have item H, which is resolutions under the consent agenda. These resolutions were placed on the consent agenda by the Board of Commissioners and enacted, are to be enacted in one motion. These are resolution numbers 2 through 13 this evening. Is that correct, Deanna? Numbers are still 2 through 13?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right, may I have a motion, Commissioners, to approve the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Before we make a motion, can I get an explanation on Renaissance Craftables and what they do for the planning of various events?
Yes,
Thank you.
that is our annual craft fair.
Oh, that's a fancy name of it. All right, appreciate it. All right, well then I'll make a motion to approve resolutions under the consent agendas numbers 2 through 13.
Second.
Voting on that motion, Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor.
Commissioner Bianco Bezic.
In favor. Thank you. Okay, that
Sure, I'd like
ends.
to highlight a couple, just two cooperative agreements that we just accepted, recycle and trash. The borough administration works very hard to keep our costs as low as possible when it comes to trash and recycling. Frank's team does a very good job with that too. And these are cooperative agreements that really do benefit everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Commissioner. Let's see. Okay, so that ends our consent agenda. Now we have resolution 14, which is the authorization to establish the Borough of Haddonfield's fourth round present and prospective need pursuant to the Fair Housing Act as calculated by the New Jersey DCA. We've talked about this at several meetings and reference this is coming down the pike and due before the end of the month. A number of towns around us have already adopted theirs. It's been reported in the retrospect and other publications. Could I have a motion to adopt resolution 14, Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 14, the fourth round affordable housing requirements.
I'll second.
Can we just get a quick explanation before we vote from Sharon or Sal, really what the meat of the ordinance is?
Sure. So the resolution you have in front of you indicates that we have agreed to the process that has been designated by the court system on how we go about submitting for our fourth round plan. We have 93 prospective need, which will be added to our 513, I believe it is, need from the second and third round. There is still a lot of work to be done to create the actual plan itself, but this resolution indicates our compliance with those rules and regulations and that we're going to follow this up with submittal of a plan in a timely basis.
And it's safe to say that with history as our guide, that 93 number, which had come down from 127 to 97 and now 93, that is added to our unmet need, and there will be a realistic development potential number as well.
Correct. That what we will do is determine what of that 93 should be turned into an RDP, which is that realistic development potential. That would be subtracted from the 93. Whatever number of prospective need is left after an RDP is created will join the 513 that we have. That is, we are also a vacant land adjustment. So we just have to provide potential zoning in place so that it could be built without ensuring that it is built. Whereas the RDP is something that we have to ensure actually gets built.
And is it also safe to say that the fourth round that we're going to be voting on is also our recommitment to affordable housing, which comes with it the protection for builders remedy lawsuits?
That is correct.
Thank you. That's all I had, Colleen.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, Deanna, I think we had a motion by Commissioner Seidel, second by Commissioner Troy.
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Voting
thank
on-
you.
Voting on approval of that resolution. Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor?
Commissioner Bianco Bezos.
In favor, thank you. Okay, with that, we have come to the conclusion of our agenda items to formally be acted upon. Could I have a motion to open to the public on any items not on the agenda or otherwise?
I'll make a motion to open the floor to public comment on non-agenda items and other topics of interest.
Second.
Voting on the motion. Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor?
Commissioner Bianco Bezos.
In favor, excuse me.
May I begin?
Just a reminder, 5 minutes, and this one as well. All right, you got me too.
Okay, I'm Susan Hoke. I live at 550 Coles Mill Road, and I am not going to talk about Woodmont today. I'm going to talk about something else. I'd like to begin by congratulating our mayor, who awarded the MLK Freedom Medal for her support of diversity. Right now, across our country, as we speak, some of our diverse fellow citizens and others are being rounded up and deported, as you all know. Haddonfield itself is not as diverse as other communities, such as Cherry Hill, but we do have citizens who are immigrants here, and we have those who are under the same threat. We have residents who have adopted and naturalized children from Central and South America, and those children may be at risk for random detention and deportation. We also have many immigrants working in this town, from my roofer, from landscapers, and in construction. If ICE comes to Haddonfield, our neighbors and our workers will be at risk. ICE has been in New Jersey, in West New York, in Union City, and in Newark. So what can you, the police and the commissioners, what can we do about this? So one thing we can do is we can insist that if they do a sweep of, say, the guys who work for my roofer, that they have to have a warrant. What happened in Newark, as you know, is in a seafood store. They went in, they took a whole bunch of Hispanic-looking people, including a US citizen who was a veteran of Hispanic descent, who had his dog tags, his military ID, and his license, and they detained him in prison for 72 hours because he was buying seafood while Hispanic. You know, this could happen here. We don't want ICE in Haddonfield walking down the street and seeing, say, a woman in a hijab if Trump comes through with a Muslim deportation. We don't want them picking up somebody who looks brown or looks Hispanic. So what could we do? So number one, I'd encourage the commissioners and the police chief to talk to the deputy mayor of Mount Laurel, Stephen Steglick, who is considering his response if ICE comes to Mount Laurel. And part of the response is you got to have a warrant. You can't just walk into a store. We can't say, hey, let's take this group of the roof. Okay? I have to have a warrant to take that. I can't just take it. So I'd like us to get involved with this. Now, the second thing we can do is a little bit bigger. We're all citizens of New Jersey. How am I doing time-wise?
2:20 or 2:30.
I'm doing fine. Okay, so we're all citizens of New Jersey. Are you all aware of the Immigrant Trust Act? Who here is aware of the Immigrant Trust Act? Nobody is, and it's already in the state Senate and the state assembly. You guys embarrass me. I'm an old lady and I'm aware of it. Okay, want to write this down? It's S3672 in the state Senate, and it's A4987 in the state assembly. What does this act do? It proposes to shield unnecessary information from ICE and from CBP. For example, right now, ICE can get the 11th grade and look at the names because it's state funded schools. Right now, ICE can get a list of who's in a women's shelter if it's state funded, who's in a health clinic, and who the local police have. And so this bill which is in the Assembly and the Senate, would basically say that, again, more information is private and you need a warrant. Now, I brought some information about this bill, and I'll encourage you all to write your your representatives and your state senators. And in fact, I've included their addresses here on the information about the bill, so people can become proactive as citizens of New Jersey. I have two more sentences. In the past, Haddonfield stood up for escaped slaves and was a station on the Underground Railroad. And I have to ask you guys, are we going to stand up now to prevent the detention and the deportation of people from this town, whether they are living here or whether they are working for a landscaper or a roofer? The choice is up to you. 50 years from now, when your kids ask you, what did you do when they were deporting 11 million people? You have an answer, perhaps. That is all I want to say. And I have 25 seconds, which I will give to Chris Maines.
Well, you don't have to. He has his own file. Thank you, Dr. Hood. And feel free to put them right over there for people to take. She doesn't need to. He has a fresh box. He's not going to get 530.
I'm Walter Weidenbacher at 48 Center Street. I like to call it the center of the university. And I just want to say, before I start reading my question, it's a little intimidating to be sitting in the audience and listening to a young woman refer to herself as an old lady, because she's still a babe in my eyes. It makes me feel really decrepit. So I just wanted to say that. She still won't go out with me. Anticipating.
I don't have the power to change that, Walter.
Okay, so anticipating the big May election, I'd like to ask all three of you, commissioners, if you're planning to run for re-election. Your respective answers will help potential candidates decide whether or not they want to throw their hats in the ring. Doesn't this make it incumbent upon you, no pun intended, to answer my question post haste? I believe the application deadline is only one short month away, so if I may ask for a show of hands among the three commissioners, who among you is planning to run for re-election in May? I think we would all like to know the answer to that question.
I am. I'm collecting signatures right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Seidel.
I think it's best left to and I appreciate the question, Walter, but I think it's best left to the the folks who potentially will be running, in this case, the commissioners, for a time and a place where they feel comfortable making an announcement.
Yeah, let me just interject. Let me play my role, which is lawyer here. We do have I can appreciate your asking the question, but there's a fairly bright line between politics and government. And to Commissioner Troy's comment, I don't want it to be construed to anyone's detriment that if they raise their hand or express that they're running, that could be seen as a declaration of a campaign. And I'm very mindful of that. So I want to keep the borough's government meetings separate from any perceived political campaign. So that's why I'm going to step in, and I don't mean to frustrate you, and I sense that I am, but there's a reason for why I'm frustrating you, right? I don't want it to turn into a campaign declaration for any one of the three commissioners who may be candidates in May. So forgive me for stopping you, but
no forgiveness necessary, because I would have said the same thing, but I felt that it went without saying that I was just asking for an informal indication from the commissioners, so that we would get a feeling, and it would have it wouldn't be a commitment of anything.
I know.
It would just give us some orientation, because the sooner the better.
I understand.
And that has with, the rapidly approaching deadline.
I understand.
So my whole thing was just, do it, for the team, for the people in government.
Your question is fine. It makes logical sense. But, sometimes the law doesn't always make sense. So I'm sorry to jump in there, but your question does make sense, Walter. I can appreciate it.
Commissioner, for those of you who can't see it, Commissioner Seidel just turned his iPad around, showing me how many seconds I have left to talk. Excellent idea. Thank you. I appreciate that. I something to institute and do that because I can see that I have a whole minute and 1 second, 1 minute to go. So, I want to say something else, if I may, changing the subject. I just put out a video where I'm clamoring for there to be better audio on the recordings, which recordings, I call it abysmal in my little thing. And even here, the audio is so bad. And then after I published my video, this ain't no way to run a railroad, I was informed, and I think I was informed of this before, but I forgot, that that's already in the works. So again, thank you, Commissioner Seidel, because evidently, well, somebody moved on it because it's been a major problem for some time. And so I just want to thank you but still watch my video because I say some other things in it. So 5, 4, 3, thank you.
Sure. The credit is not mine, Walter. There was way in motion before I got here. Everything costs money and you need to allocate money for it, and they did. And it's just now taking time to install.
I think it's a priority.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that. Because as you said, it did require planning, it did require budgeting, and it did require collaboration. So appreciate that nod and thank you for working with us forward.
We good?
Yes.
Jim Twitchell, Jefferson Avenue. I want to talk about the affordable housing, building on some of the things that Chris said, as well as Annie. I had a chance to talk to Commissioner Seidel this morning at length. You were quite a source of information, more than I could absorb and process at one time. If you ever get around to writing a book called Affordable Housing for Dummies, send me a copy. I appreciate it. I wanted to review the types of projects we've used in the past to fulfill the third round obligation, the standalone type, which is Snowden and Tarditi, scattered sites, the 8 units around town plus Kings Court, and the mega projects, Bancroft, Woodmont. Problems with these, some actual, some perceived. Standalone, the perceived but well-intentioned notion that would cause economic segregation, I think needs to be looked at carefully, especially in light of the fact that 2,500 people applied for the 20 units at Snowden. They want to live there. They want to use the town's facilities, the school systems. I think it's too early to say that definitely will cause economic segregation. I don't think we should make that pronouncement at this time. Scattered sites. The Haddonfield Housing Association agency got off to a rocky start through no fault of the volunteers. I think I read the bylaws and saw that the mandate of what they were required to do would choke a horse. I don't know how that was expected to work from the beginning. As we know, of the 7 required board members, 4 of them resigned in mid-2023. And as of Christmas this year, we still only have 3 of the 7 on that board. I don't know why those 3 didn't resign either. It's a tremendous amount of work they were tasked with doing. I just don't know how that was expected to work. There seems to be a lot of activity in the scattered sites, rehabbing buildings and populating them with the appropriate people. Seems to have happened in the last 6 months. It sounds like we're moving forward on that. I don't know how, because again, they only have three of the 7 board members, and we're trying to get to the bottom of that. And I appreciate the work, Deanna, that you and Bernadette do towards that. Given the circumstances and conditions and restrictions which you may work under, I hate doing it, but it needs to be done. The last item, mega projects, Bancroft, Woodmont. Obviously, that particular mega project, not very popular in town, done behind closed doors, against the advice of the planning board. We know why we're at this point. It's the 11th hour. We've got the courts putting a gun to our head. We really don't have many options. No one wants to face builder's remedy. I get that. Now, going forward, how do we handle the obligations of the fourth round? There are a maximum at this time of 93 units over a 10-year period. That number is probably going to come down. We probably have credits available to apply against that. So at the moment, we don't really know what the final number will be that we have to deal with over 10 years. Rules have changed, regulations have changed at both the state and local level regarding all this. It sounds like they're for the better. We have more options for addressing this. Some of them being like accessory dwelling units behind large residential units in town, single family homes converted back to duplexes, building over retail establishments downtown. If I'm correct, those are three methods that we didn't have at our disposal back during the third round, but I wonder if realistically they're going to be able to contribute to our affordable housing obligation to any substantial amount. I don't see residences building ADUs behind their place with a 40-year deed restriction that comes with the affordable housing obligation. I don't see building over retail places downtown where the owners of those places are going to want to not maximize the profit by selling at market rates or renting at market rates. Families converting from single family back to duplex, I don't see that as being viable. It may address some of the obligations, but I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount. That being said, we're back looking at scattered sites, standalone projects, and mega projects. Mega projects, I think we can discount because there's no space. And the one that we have is wildly unpopular. Hopefully, if we ever looked at a project of that size again, we would do so in a more rational manner. Standalones, again, as people have said, and I've said, let's not discount it completely at this time. It may be a part of our toolbox that we need to keep there. And maybe in the 9th or 10th year, we find ourselves with an obligation that's best fit with standalones. It might be something we have to look at. Might not be most desirable, but let's not discount it completely. Scattered sites.
Jim, your time's up.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in summary, we have time to think this all through. Let's get some town input. Let's get some transparency lacking in this decision-making process. And let's get some people. We got a lot of talent in this town that we haven't used. Let's make, you don't have to be a good friend of a commissioner or a member of the borough hall as the sole or primary criteria for getting on one of these.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else in the public?
Chris Means, 7 Roberts Avenue. Just a question about the resolution, the DCA resolution, fourth round resolution. Why was that not published in advance? Knowing that it's a big issue. Anybody?
Why it's not published in advance?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you think the public wants to see what is in the resolution? I mean, it seems like a reasonable thing.
I would agree.
Okay. Would the borough, my second question, is the borough obligated to publish it in advance? And if not, would the borough consider a future ordinance resolution, I'm not sure what the legal term would be, that obligated itself and future commissions to publish such things in advance, at least say 72 hours, so that the public could review them? Does that sound like a reasonable thing to consider? Sal, is it legal? Is that like a?
Up to the commissioners, they set the policy.
I mean, but I'm not suggesting something that.
You're not suggesting anything that's per se illegal. Commissioners control the policy.
Any of the commissioners think that sounds reasonable, unreasonable? I mean,
No, it's something we could talk about, but I can't make comment because I'd be binding those two to comment, so.
They can't see that I'm looking at
Yeah,
it.
right.
But,
Sure.
okay, so anyway, it's just something to consider. Yeah, I guess so. Mayor Bianca Bezich, do you think that's reasonable or Frank?
I don't have any problem posting the information ahead of time. I think in many cases it's a matter of just you know, getting the, I mean, there's a lot of prep work that goes into these meetings that Deanna is working on these many times, even the day of. So, you know, I guess it's important. I guess the hardest part with some of these resolutions is some of these can be done ahead of time. Some are still being worked on to the last minute, and we are time bound. Like in this case, we are time bound with this one. And I'm fine with getting the you know, residents' input and stuff on it, but you know, in some cases, you know, it's hard to differentiate or kind of establish what's important to one person, which is not important to another.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Deanna. I don't, this was a legal thing. This wasn't something Deanna was writing. I assume. I think.
I'm talking about, like, you know, the assembling of the entire packet for you know, for the commissioners meetings. So even if it's drafted or worked on by someone else, Deanna's the one who's assembling this.
Right, but could it be provided to Deanna 72 hours in advance?
It wasn't provided by the state in final language form, I think, until this morning. Today's Monday, right? Yeah, I mean, they were still making changes at the state level in the morning.
For that, okay. Yeah. So
every town is in the same boat. They have to pass it by January 31st.
Many towns passed theirs prior meetings.
And I would say some of them are probably going to go back and amend them.
Okay. Well, I think, you know, something as potentially big as this, and from what I'm seeing at this meeting, the resolution is really not that big a deal.
No, but the numbers are, Chris.
The numbers are big.
And we've gotten it from 127 to 97 to 93. We're still taking a stab at it even today.
Yeah.
Try to get that number a little lower.
Saying, you know, the 93 will, if 512 became 83, then the 93 will presumably be something.
Your lips to God's ears.
But we'll see.
Sure.
But my point is, it's probably not something that if it had been here, if it had been publicly disclosed prior, there wouldn't have been this concern among so many residents as to what was in it.
Sure, but not everything's like that. Some things are waiting for the state to finalize things, so we don't have to double work and our real stab at trying to get that number down, even in the 11th hour.
Fair enough, and I appreciate that. I just, so I would think it would be worthwhile to consider some self-binding rule that says resolutions will be published for public review. Some.
Yeah, and we can talk about it, and we'll talk about it.
Thank you.
It's the 419 months. The clock. I wanted to ask about the Haddonfield Housing Agency. And I'm still confused as to the relationship between the borough and the Haddonfield Housing Agency. I asked in the last meeting if the borough maintained any knowledge or record of that. And it was stated that it was a separate government entity, quote unquote. As I recall, it's an arm's length relationship. But I just have some clarifying questions I wanted to ask directly, and I think maybe Sally would direct them to you. Did the borough fund the Haddonfield Housing Agency?
I don't know the answer to your question. I wasn't here when it was created. It was created by ordinance several years ago. So unfortunately, I don't know if Sharon has the information, but
Sharon or the commissioners, has the borough funded the Haddonfield Housing Agency?
Yeah.
We have funded it. We allocated the budget to that.
Yes, we did. The funds to cover the cost of the repairs that they're doing comes out of our Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
I'm with you. Did we fund the original purchase of the property?
We purchased the original properties and then turned them over to the nonprofit.
and all related costs, legal, engineering,
Correct.
realtor fees, et cetera, the borough's in control of, allocated originally, purchased originally, granted over.
We initially purchased all of them and everything along with that, correct?
So every dollar given or allocated to them has come from the borough, is that correct?
To date, yes.
Okay, who is in charge of that budget?
The commissioner, approved any checks that the commissioners approved all of the purchases of the properties by resolution.
I'm with you. And who supervises the volunteers on that group?
There is no direct supervision of the volunteers of that group. There is communication between myself and them.
I'm with you. And who supervises their actions or their spending?
Their spending, the report has to come back to us with what they spend in order for us to be able to submit it as part of our spending plan for affordable housing.
I'm with you. And who supervises their decisions?
Again, they make their own decisions. If they have questions, they come to me for guidance.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Have many borough commissioners attended any of their meetings?
Attended their meetings? Not that I'm aware
Are there any minutes of any of those meetings?
of. I would have to check with them.
Deanna, are there any minutes of those meetings?
I'd have to check.
Has the borough ever provided minutes of any Oprah requests for any of those meetings to any individual in town?
We handle so many, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Would it be that the borough has provided Oprah minutes to members of the community?
I would have to double check. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Is it safe to say that given the importance of this initiative and the amount of money that's being spent, which is well into the 7 figures, I believe, that there is not better borough oversight of the money, given that the packet that I'm looking at has money down to the $10 and $20 level in terms of every expense being tracked in the town? Is there any comment, Commissioner Troy, or from the mayor?
So, Dave, I guess I'm not really sure where we're going with this. I can tell you my experience with this because some of it falls in the purview of public property, or I guess borough property, so to speak. Is I would say part of the reason for the somewhat like of a rocky start, as you categorized it, is because those volunteers on the HHA were trying to be and continue to be strong financial stewards of their, of the borough funds and making sure they're spending it wisely. So for example, there's a pipe leak at a building, which is a true story. And so you call a plumber, the plumber goes out and they're thinking it's going to be a $200 repair, to find out the work is more extensive and they have to, pull part of a wall down and put a new riser in, and whatever the case may be. And so, the HHA, and rightly so, is saying, well, are we able to obligate this money where we thought it was going to be $300, now it's $2,000 or $3,000. So, that's where, and Sharon the name escapes me right now, and I'm a little bit cloudy in my brain, but that's where we were giving them additional assistance to help them with like sourcing contractors and like realistically how much things cost. And keep in mind, these are volunteers. So, if plumber says that they'll show up before, between 8 and 12. Well, these people work full time, so they can't be there between 8 and 12 if they're working a full-time job. So, this has been an evolution of, this board working very hard, through the growing pains of this, providing feedback to the borough. In some cases, before we even had these things in place, we had borough personnel go out there and, remove trash or take care of some items here and there. But I mean, now I think we're at a place where it is functional. They have the resources, they have the budget for it. They know what, items need to be repaired. And I think they're doing actually a really good job considering the growing pains associated with it.
Thank you for that. I just want to make sure that that doesn't cut into the time because it cost me about a minute and a half.
Well, you ask questions, you get responses. I mean,
Well, let me just finish with a statement. And the questions were intentionally leading, as well as legitimately trying to figure out what was going on with the transparency. It just seems that if we pass a major resolution about affordable housing and all these obligations, and the borough's spending millions of dollars around buying housing, and there is a group that had 7 and now it's down to 3, and it's only volunteer, and they're running that kind of money, and they're up to their necks in that kind of work, and they're just volunteers, then it would seem that they could use some help, and the borough's capability on oversight as to the spending might be beneficial to them and to the community.
thanks, David.
Anyone else in the room?
Yes, Carol's walking to the lectern.
Oh,
Carol,
thanks.
on Avondale Avenue. Now I want to talk about streets. I'd like to know why our county streets that connect Haddonfield to bordering towns are not treated the same as our bordering neighbors. Avondale was paved in Haddon Township years ago, but not in Haddonfield. It stops right where Haddonfield begins, and Avondale is a mess in Haddonfield. It's a very long road. Station Avenue is the same. The paving stops at the Haddonfield line. Beautiful in Heights, but not in Haddonfield. Additionally, Station Avenue in Heights was free of snow this last snowfall, but not Haddonfield. Haddonfield did not do a great job of clearing snow off of side streets or even Station Avenue for that matter. Station Avenue was clear up to Haddonfield. I would like to bring up West End Avenue and the horrible lack of safety of it. Wood Avenue is another one. There was another accident again on West End this past week at the corner of West End and Mount Vernon. I was there for the last accident before this one on West End that had to use the jaws of life in order to get out the person in it as it flipped over. Where is the data of the speed of the cars of West End that was recently collected after that accident? And what is the plan to do anything, not only to slow down traffic on West End, but all over Haddonfield? Everyone is complaining that people are driving too fast. So I'd like to know, is there a plan by the commissioners, for instance, we don't have tax anymore, is there a plan that we could implement Drive 25 again or do something to slow down traffic? Lastly, I'd like to know why we are allowing 80% of our lots to be covered by impervious coverage in our downtown by apartments. We are starting to look like a major city with towering buildings, including 4 new apartments on Redmond and the towering apartments that now are over J West. If you drive into town, they have these just big buildings that just never the feel before. Why are we allowing this to happen? And what do you want Haddonfield to become? A major city? I just said lastly, but now one more lastly. With regards to affordable housing, why are you not challenging these affordable housing requirements in court like the other towns that just grouped together in order to file a lawsuit? Haddonfield is not named in that. There's 25 townships that got together to challenge affordable housing. So why isn't Haddonfield, we have no space. And yet we're not challenging, I understand that you went to court and got it down, but why are we not a part of a lawsuit or something for affordable housing? Instead, Haddonfield just continues to build.
Thanks, Carol. If I recall correctly, Sal, those 25 towns were turned away at the courts?
Yes.
Yes, they lost.
They were, yeah, they did. So those 20, they were turned down. Now, I strongly suspect that they haven't filed their paperwork already. There's going to be an appeal, and they were purposeful in their filing, in that they filed in Mercer County, which obviously where Trenton is in the state legislature. But there's also state appellate panels that are associated with that judicial vicinage. So the judicial panel that it is going to end up with is going to be among the best and the brightest in the state in terms of appellate level judges. So, but to answer your question, yes, the the initial preliminary injunction to strike it and set aside was denied by the judge. And it's going to go to appeal, and I strongly suspect, I have no way of knowing for sure, but I would strongly suspect that it's ultimately going to be the state Supreme Court who weighs in on it. So it's not over yet.
And there's lots of ways to skin a cat too. So, I mean, political theater is one way to do it. And our council was giving us the opinion that a lot of that activity is political theater and really doesn't have a hope to win, but has a definite hope to embarrass. So as Sal said, to file it in Mercer County is a way to try to embarrass the state legislature into action. I've never found in my political life, either at the board or here, that's a winning way. You get more flies with honey. That's kind of my strategy. Frank and Colleen could have theirs. It just didn't even show up on the radar because it was, folly, frankly. In my opinion, yes. And I'm elected to have one. So, I mean, that's where it goes. And in terms of taps, there's an effort to slow things down. And this kind of goes to that political folly as well. Volunteerism is really at an all-time low. TAPS, Norm Kinsey, I believe that was his name. One-man wrecking crew when it came to TAPS and the Drive 25 campaign. Feel free. You have an outlet, that's a cause. I was asked by Frank Troy when he said, if you want to have a seat up here, raise your hand. That's how they wanted to see it run. I raised my hand. If you want to slow down traffic, I'll be right there with you. I'll be the first person to sign it. I think it's important. Go right ahead.
You want me to address some of it?
Yeah, sure. Please. Oh, sorry, my timer's gone off.
Chief, Chief, go right ahead. I know we weren't asked in advance to have data handy on anything specific, but anything you can add about the most recent accident or instances, feel free to go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The most recent accident, I saw a lot of jabber on Facebook. It was not due to speed. It was due to driver inattention and failure for the driver that was at fault to clear their windshield from frost. It was a young lady that was late, left her house, did not get her windshield off, couldn't see, stopped at the stop sign, looked both ways, but because her view was obstructed, she thought the coast was clear, she decided to move forward and cause the accident. That had nothing to do with speed. Most of our accidents in town are due to that, just driver inattention. Part of the stop sign statute is not only you have to stop, but you have to yield once you are stopped. You can't just go into the intersection if there's cars there. And a lot of that is happening. I know, when you have the speed limit here is 25 miles an hour. When you have one car doing 25 and another doing 25 miles an hour, that's a 50-mile-an-hour accident. Okay, it's physics. All right, energy just does disperse. Thank you. So even though you mentioned life and all that, just because of that happening doesn't mean it's related to speed. The cars, like I said, cars doing 30 and one's doing 25. It's a 55-mile-an-hour accident. So that's what's happening. Another reason to get speed down is you saw tonight. I don't know, Mr. Stoner, if you were here when we announced the officer that we just hired was another officer in addition to the current complement. Our plan is to have a dedicated traffic officer, one that doesn't answer calls. We get a lot of calls throughout the day. Some calls at domestic could take up 2 officers for up to 5-6 hours. We have to take an officer or a suspect to the jail. That's another couple hours. So the commissioners, thankfully, put in the budget this year to hire an additional officer so I can have a dedicated traffic officer. That's not going to be answering the domestic, the other calls, the dog calls. It's he or she, we haven't decided who it is. Once the officer gets trained, we're going to put a more experienced officer out on just how to handle traffic. And Drive 25, years ago, we had a dedicated traffic unit. We had 4 officers dedicated to that. Unfortunately, over the years, through attrition and other reasons, we're trying to build that back up. Like I said, we just hired 1. Maybe this year or next year, we can hire 1 or 2 more. It just depends on budgeting and how we go. But we are very cognizant of the speed in town. Like I said, we stopped over close to 150 cars. Not everybody gets a ticket. It's just, enforcement is enforcement, whether it's a ticket or whether it's just stopping somebody to say, hey, slow down. That's enforcement. So we do take, your issue seriously. I've been here 30 years and I've seen it ebb and flow, traffic, ebbs and flows. And most of the time it's people not realizing how fast they're going. And you're right, we could do a better job trying to slow them down. And we are working with the county for West End Avenue for a 4-way stop sign at Euclid and West End. That's in the works. So, it's a county road, so we have to deal with them. But hopefully within the next 6 months, we'll get that approved. They just came in, we bought 4 stop signs, lit stop signs. They're blinking stop signs for West End Avenue, West End and Mount Vernon, West End and Redmond. They're at the Public Works now. The Public Works was busy with leaves, snow removal, all that kind of stuff. They have to actually build them. They come in parts. So hopefully within the next, I'd say 2 months, they'll be out. So we are working towards that goal of traffic enforcement. But I agree with you. Everybody could do a better job slowing down. And with the cars being built the way they are these days, most of the time you don't realize you're going that fast. I mean, the sound, they're better, it's just people not paying attention. You don't know you're going that fast. Most people don't speed intentionally. It's just an oversight, unless you're dealing with a teenager just got his license like mine did. I got to yell at him all the time, slow down. So it's things like that, but those things are in the works.
Thanks, Chief, and great work by our PD, because this is a constant ongoing dialogue with residents, with business owners, with visitors. Just last week, I was out on West Summit meeting with neighbors. So we really do take consideration of every bit of feedback that comes to us. When people approach us, they send us emails, they call us, we go to meetings, Lieutenant Holloway, Chief Cutler, myself, Lieutenant Grasso. We welcome the feedback, positive, negative. Anyone who's willing to be a part of a solution, we take that seriously. And just as Chief mentioned, I mean, that all factored into why we're building a new police headquarters. If we want more officers on the street, if we want more enforcement on the roads, we need to have places to house our officers. We don't have that in the basement right now. So having the capacity to house officers, the staff, and to have the training and the equipment and the technology so we can run radar and we can actually do enforcement efforts, that's something that we're building the capacity to do. We budgeted, as the Chief mentioned, for at least 1, if not 2 more officers in the next 6 months. We applied for COPS grants. You've heard me say it before, I'd love to have 30 officers by 2030. Again, we will have a home for them by mid-year this year, hopefully. And then we can continue to build up what we lost 10 to 15 years ago, which was a traffic enforcement bureau. We lost those officers through attrition and retirement. And that's one of the first things Chief and I talked about after we settled on the new building. But again, all of those signage improvements, et cetera, working with the county, working with DPW, that's ongoing. Every single day, every single week, we are putting our heads together and working together to budget and plan and implement. So thank you to anybody who's given feedback or participated in the conversations. And Chief and I are always available.
And from a history sake, because sometimes we talk about things and you say, oh, I know it, but it could be forgotten or you just never heard it. The Drive 25 program was brilliant in its simplicity. You live here, drive 25 miles an hour, you become the pace car. People can't drive faster than you if you're in front of them and you're doing the speed limit. That was the entirety of that program. Non-agenda items, we're almost over. Non-agenda items.
David Hunter, 260 Windsor Avenue. This may be a question for the solicitor, the commissioners, but on February the 10th, there'll be a hearing, a rather commission work session, and the commissioners have an obligation under a court order to make decision on that date with respect to the Woodmont and Bancroft and moving forward. On February the 14th, there is a hearing on a motion by Heard for summary judgment with respect to the lawsuit that they brought. My question is, will the commissioner's action on February the 10th, if it is to proceed with a purchase and sale agreement and so on with Woodmont, will that make the decision on the 14th moot?
Well, I don't know because it's up to the judge whether it's moot, but let me address just a couple comments first. There is no motion by Heard. There's no lawsuit by Heard. There's two individuals who have filed a lawsuit. They're both here, Mr. Mays and Mr. Huguenot. So it's not Heard. They're the named plaintiffs. February 14th, under case management order, was the date scheduled for oral argument on their summary judgment motion. That has been converted to a status settlement conference, and their counsel is aware of that. I advised their counsel of that last week or the week before last. So there is no oral argument hearing on the 14th. That has been converted to a settlement / case management conference.
Okay.
So, and whether it becomes moot, I believe that's up to the judge who's hearing the case. There's arguments from good lawyers on both sides, and the judge will ultimately make the decision.
And so those kinds of arguments would be presented on the 14th.
In part, if I may, and I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here, but oral argument of the New Jersey court rules, oral argument hearings are designed to amplify what has been raised in the written briefs. And as you indicated, a motion for summary judgment has been filed. The borough, through my office, as well as our redevelopment council, has filed opposition. And there's been one reply. That's how the court rules work: motion, opposition, reply. And then in the court's discretion, if allowed, and we've written to the court to ask for permission to write a reply, answer their reply. And the judge has not answered us back yet. The oral argument is designed to amplify what's in those written submissions.
Okay. All right. And it's fully expected that the Bancroft Woodmont matter will be on the agenda on the 10th.
I anticipate so. I mean, I don't control the agenda, but I anticipate so.
You don't have much trouble. Thank you. Yep.
All right, Annie. I'm saying that out loud because they can't see you. No, we're not finished with open comment yet. I was just letting you.
Yeah, non-agenda.
Yep.
You will move to move on. Okay. So I disagree with you on why the commissioners can't state whether they're going to run for re-election or not.
That's fine. You're free to disagree with me.
I know I am, so.
We don't have to always agree. We can disagree.
Okay, yeah, I look at it as who cares? You know, it's just another indication of a lack of transparency. They can see that they're going to run or not going to run. It shouldn't be a big deal.
They can say it outside of this governmental meeting. They can say it in any individual forum that they choose, which could be a political event. But in this governmental meeting, I have concerns. And my job is to look out for the borough.
I got you. Thank you, Sal.
We can disagree. That's okay.
Also, highly suggest that someone purchase a very large can of Lysol and go through this whole building, every room, and just spray it. If it's too big, you can't do it tonight. And then it would be vacant all night. The germs would be killed. And because if you don't spray, it's going to be spray. It's going to be on everything. So it's just a thought. Also, who is it that back when they were doing all this work on Ellis Street and so forth, who gave the, I don't know, whoever the companies that were working on it, permission to store all their equipment and use Bank of America
as their construction site, because if Bank of America was a business, they would have been able to do it. So who authorized them to use that lot?
That was in discussions with the chief and I when we were in a construction meeting.
And this is for Ellis Street?
It was for phase one of Ellis Street.
Okay, so you two agreed on it.
All right. Now, you have, Ward. They're working on there and they're very nervous. Now, who was it that authorized that they had to have, I know this sounds absurd, they had to have an office present on the property.
And it's a huge trailer. It's been there for several months. We all thought that it was part of the police, that maybe you were going to use it for storage for some reason. Now, no, T.M. Ward said no. He was told that he had to have this trailer there. He had to have all these computers there. He said, look, I even had to have a big wooden thing in the air with, I guess, so the computers can run, and that he had to maintain that office there so they could have meetings. And he says to me, you know, I'm used to just working out of my truck. Meanwhile, we have to hear the generator go on for hours. Right? I'm trying to work in my house and I'm not directly next door on my computer, and my floor is vibrating, which means the desk is vibrating, which means my computer is vibrating. So who wanted the office there? Because they could have had an office.
That wasn't a requirement or a directive from the borough. That was the T.M. Ward Construction Company decided that they needed that to work. You'll be happy that they applied for a temporary electric hookup through PSE&G, so that generator should be going away. I know it was approved by the building construction department. So that generator.
Well, he told me that no, the borough told him he had to have an office there. So that's incorrect.
That is incorrect. The borough does not require or.
I mean, it's been a nightmare. We've had months of this, I mean, months and months of it. And so 6:15 in the morning, this piece of equipment is running and running. Now the ground is frozen. You can't do any work. You never want to pour concrete when it's cold outside. And it's dark outside, and this piece of equipment is just running.
What piece of equipment? Because they're not supposed to be working before 7. So if they
It
are.
was 6:15 in the morning. It was just running. They couldn't use it, you know, because it was too cold. They were just running and running and running. And I get up and I look and I see the lights are on this equipment, which shows that you're not using it, and it's just running. Just running.
Call 429-3000.
All right, so the other day, they started again with all this noise. I got up out of bed, the road on. I was so annoyed, I didn't even have socks on, I just put on some slip-on shoes, and I went over, and there was this guy working this equipment. I'm gonna continue. And I said to him, sir, you know, and he didn't want to talk to me. He told me, I don't have to talk to you. Now, I think the mayor had gone over and spoken to these people because he was told he doesn't have to talk to me, and he wasn't pleasant, and he told me that this is borough patent property. And so I said to him, oh, just wait a minute, you're not going to talk to me without telling, for one. And two, borough Haddonfield property means that I paid for it. We paid $2.6 million for this property, and that means as a taxpayer, I own a portion of it. So don't tell me that who owns this property. So he wasn't pleasant. He flipped me off to go in to talk to T.M. Ward, and I talked to him about it, and I think Colleen was there and met him, and now he changed his tune and said, I don't have to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you.
Well, Annie, I think the chief gave you the answer, which is the next time, don't go alone, call the number.
Right, and also for safety reasons, you're not allowed on the property. It's an active construction site.
Yeah,
and if you slip and fall or get run over by a piece of equipment, you know, they don't want any unauthorized people on the site.
Well, that was my other question. I want to know property damage, who would I go to? Is it the borough of Haddonfield or is it T.M. Ward?
For one file claim.
for. It's a borough property.
So the claim would go to the borough, not GM work that caused it.
Well, I would say the complaint would go to the borough.
Sorry?
The complaint should go to us so that we can understand what the problem is.
The Commissioner's correct. The complaint should start with us, and then based on the current, depending on what the complaint is, we would pass it along to the appropriate officials.
Okay, but you should know, Sharon, that I said to both of them, I know that you have a job to do, and that job is going to cause a lot of noise. All we're asking is for some consideration, such as the generator, don't be running it all day, and other issues.
The generator has been taken care of.
Okay, and the other, running the machine, 615.
I don't know what machine you're talking about. but-
Yeah, so you should call the number, just so we are aware, so you're not doing this alone. Well, that's not. Yeah.
I'd be happy.
No, but your time's up. Sorry.
It's- There's no reason for that.
This is a short and quick old lady comment, actually two comments. Number one, I do want to say something about Woodmont, which is that we have a governor's election. And some of the positions of candidates. I've been to some of their meetings. They're having a debate next week. I will tell you, and I'm not pushing anybody, but Steve Fulop he's done a lot of affordable care in Jersey City. He wants us to get reimbursed for the school costs and the costs of construction of roads and infrastructure and the cost of building affordable housing. So, something to think about when you vote, and we might want to put this off and see who gets elected and what they do about affordable housing. Number one. Number two, Sharon, I would like what I said, as well as the information about the Immigration Trust Act, to be put in the minutes to come out in 2029 or whatever. Okay,
I'll make sure Deanna includes them.
thank you.
Seeing no more comments from the in-person audience, Zoom. Just unmute or raise your hand.
Don't see anybody, Mister.
Seeing the 7 seconds, second 7-second rule has been applied. No comments. I'd like to make a motion to close public comment at this time.
Second,
Voting on that motion, Commissioner,
in favor.
Commissioner Seidel,
In favor.
Commissioner Bianco Bennett.
In favor.
Commissioners, we do need a closed session.
I'll make a motion to close the public portion of this meeting and enter into closed session for discussion about contracts and property.
Second,
motion,
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we close, right.
open to the public. or to,
Comments for
press.
the reporters. Sorry about that. So at this time, we open the comment period for reporters to ask questions, clarifying questions, or things that they're reporting on. In attendance are the retrospect and Haddonfield Today. Do we have any online?
I don't see any.
Okay, so Joan,
Okay,
no, you can come up, please. It's for the microphone more than anything. We're not trying to stand on formality. We're trying to stand on hearing.
okay, Joan Bueller from the Retrospect newspaper. Dave, Commissioner Seidel, you
All
asked,
right, update.
you talked about the affordable housing resolution. And I'm a little confused because my understanding was that in October, the state gave you guys 35 present need and 93 prospective need, which is 127 units. And this resolution tonight
just accepted that determination. You've not gone to court. Is that correct?
We did not go to court.
Okay, I thought you said you did.
No, someone in the audience said we did. We had got it from 97 to 93 for that purpose.
As part
When
of
was it,
filing,
97?
yeah, as part of filing that resolution, the borough will be filing a declaratory judgment action. It's actually mandated within 48 hours. So within the next 2 days, the declaratory judgment action is a request for the courts to accept that resolution so that we work with the Department of Community Affairs. So have not yet filed, but will be filing a 4th round declaratory judgment action.
For the 127?
Yes.
3593?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be sure. And so Dave, you said you were talking about, you took a stab at it as early as this morning. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Who was involved and?
No, we wrote one more time to the DCA for clarification to see if there was anything. As I made comment in our last meeting, our land value is so low, it's nearly impossible for us to hit that number. And I made one final plea to it.
To somebody at the state?
To the DCA office, Commissioner, what's her name? I know. Suarez, right.
Did any of your affordable housing professionals work on this?
They had me. No, this was my initiative at the very end to try to do it.
Okay, I was just confused.
Yeah, sure.
A little bit. And do you guys have confirmation from the state that you do have to add it to the unmet need from the 2nd and 3rd round? Because we asked them that and they did not clarify that for us.
That's what has occurred in the past. So that 519 from the 2nd and 3rd round doesn't go away. So you just continue to accumulate prospective need.
Okay. This is the first, we actually asked them and they did not respond to that question. Okay, and then on the Haddonfield Housing Agency, can you confirm that only 3 trustees remain? As Dave said? Or I think Jim, sorry.
Joan, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 4, but yes, the number has dwindled.
Is that, can you comment on that as a troubling issue, and how and when would you fill those positions?
So the positions, the way because it is set up as a nonprofit, excuse me, they actually find replacements themselves. It doesn't come through the commissioners. So they are looking at people to help join their group. Do I find it troubling? It's troubling the reasons that many of them quit, and it had nothing to do with the work that they had in front of them. So, but that's just my personal opinion, not the commission.
Okay. And they're actually doing the work of maintaining and organizing the scattered sites.
They are working with, we put them in touch with connection professionals that are providing them assistance with doing that, correct?
Okay, the 1.5 million that they show on their 990 for 2023, is that solely property and assets, or does the borough actually give them cash?
There was a small startup fund of I believe 100,000, I don't remember, that they were given because they have maintenance crews, they have housing fees for the condo, you know, they have electricity, things like that. So they were given a small pot of money to be able to hire professionals that they needed and to begin to pay any necessary monthly bills associated while they got the contracts together for the improvements.
Okay. And then completely off the subject of housing, on the 10-year recycling agreement you're entering into, do you have any idea how much that's going to save the borough in tipping fees?
I don't off the top of my head. I do know that the county worked very diligently several different times with this project because the last agreement we had, the costs went up significantly and there was a definite impact on the last 2 years' budgets for recycling fees. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I do believe it's about half of what we're paying right now is the number that is the default that we switch to, come May 1st, if the recyclables are not able to be sold.
So do you know how much you're paying now to get rid of recyclables?
We're paying around $75 to $80 a ton right now. I believe the number goes down to 35, Joan. I don't know.
Yeah, it does. I saw that contract.
Okay, because I know, Bill just sent me the revised numbers and stuff today, right before the meeting, and I didn't have a chance to.
And that only, does recyclables, right? Not
Correct.
trash?
Correct. The landfill costs are a different contract. And that, I think we're still in contract, and that's not due up at the moment.
Okay.
I think there's another year left in that one.
And, sorry, just one last thing on the affordable housing. Did you guys talk about that in the work session in, January? Did you talk about
The resolution?
Yes.
Yes.
Was that a subject? Okay. And are you going to, will there be any discussion about what, Susan mentioned about, maybe possibly doing something about the immigration?
I'm sure when the commissioners get together at their next work session, if they would like to discuss it, they can.
Okay, thanks, that's all I have.
Seeing no other, David, you wouldn't know, okay? Now I'd like to make a motion to close this meeting to the public and go into closed session for contracts and property discussion.
Second.
There will be no action when we come out, other than to vote in the affirmative to leave.
Voting on that motion, Commissioner Troy,
In favor.
Commissioner Slagle,
In favor.
Commissioner Bianco Bezich.
In favor. Thanks, everyone.